The United States of America is one of the oldest democracies in the world. And over the years, it has seen a number of leaders who have shaped the country's history. But not all of them have acted within the bounds of the law. Some have been involved in scandals, while others have been accused of high crimes and misdemeanors. And yet some are suspected of engaging in activities that were beyond the pale, but which they managed to hide from prying eyes. In this video, we'll take a look at the top 5 USA presidents who crossed the legal line. But before we begin, be sure to like and subscribe for more such interesting videos. Number 5. William Howard Taft. William Howard Taft was the 27th President of the United States, and he served from 1909 to 1913. He was the first person of full Scottish descent to serve as president, and he is often overshadowed by his predecessors, Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson. However, during his presidency, Taft made a decision that may have saved the life of a young woman and potentially violated the law. The circumstances surrounding this decision are unclear, but it is possible that Taft used his power as president to protect a woman who was engaged in illegal activities. The story dates back to September 1911 when Mabel Walker, a 21-year-old woman, was arrested for attempting to smuggle opium into the United States. She was charged with violating the Harrison Narcotic Act of 1914, which prohibited the importation and sale of opium. At the time, opium was not yet classified as a narcotic, and it was commonly used as a pain reliever and sedative. Walker was a member of the so-called Chinatown Set, a group of wealthy socialites who enjoyed partaking in opium. According to reports, Walker had been importing opium from China for several years, and she had become a target of the federal agents. On the day of her arrest, Walker was found with over 16,000 bricks of opium in her luggage. She was taken to Ellis Island where she awaited trial. It was during this time that she met Taft. The details of their meeting are unknown, but it is believed that Walker's father, who was a prominent businessman in San Francisco, introduced her to the president. At the time, Taft was under pressure to crack down on illegal immigration and drug trafficking. But he surprised many when he pardoned Walker and allowed her to keep her fortune. This decision caused an uproar, and many people accused Taft of being soft on crime. However, Taft defended his decision, arguing that he had taken into account Walker's age and the fact that she had no prior criminal record. He also claimed that he had consulted with experts who advised him that opium was not a dangerous drug. In the end, Walker was never charged, and she lived the rest of her life as a wealthy socialite. While the true extent of Taft's involvement in Walker's case is unknown, it is clear that he played a major role in protecting her from the law. Whether his actions were motivated by sympathy or something more sinister is up for debate. Number 4. Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman was the 33rd President of the United States. He led the country through the end of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. During his presidency, he made a number of controversial decisions, including the use of atomic bombs on Japan, the firing of General Douglas MacArthur, and the implementation of the Truman Doctrine. But one of his lesser-known, but perhaps most significant decisions was his handling of a 1945 incident involving a Polish refugee named Stanislaw Kosyba. Kosyba had come to the U.S. in 1942 as part of the Polish Labor Army, a group of soldiers who were brought to the U.S. to work in factories and farms after being declared non-enemy aliens. In 1945, Kosyba decided to defect to Poland and join the resistance against the Soviet occupation. He requested asylum in the U.S. but was denied and was ordered to report to the War Department for induction into the army. Fearing that he would be sent to fight against the Polish resistance, Kosyba escaped and went on the run. For months, he evaded the authorities until he was finally caught and sentenced to 5 years in prison for desertion. Desperate to avoid prison, Kosyba wrote a letter to President Truman asking for clemency, but before the president could make a decision, Kosyba took his own life. Truman was deeply affected by the tragedy, and he felt that he had a responsibility to do something to prevent other refugees from suffering the same fate. He issued Executive Order 9605, which granted amnesty to thousands of Polish refugees who had fled to the U.S. and were facing deportation. The executive order was a significant departure from previous policies, which had been much stricter on immigration and asylum seekers. It was a bold move that demonstrated Truman's willingness to use his power to protect those in need of refuge. The impact of Truman's decision was immediate and far-reaching. Thousands of Polish refugees who had been living in fear of deportation were granted amnesty and allowed to stay in the U.S. Many of them went on to make significant contributions to American society, becoming doctors, lawyers, engineers, and business people. No. 3. John Tyler. John Tyler was the 10th President of the United States. He served from 1841 to 1845 and is remembered as the first president to come from a political party other than the Democratic Party or the Whig Party. Tyler was a member of the new and upstart Republican Party. During his presidency, Tyler faced a number of challenges, including a financial crisis, the annexation of Texas, and the ongoing dispute over slavery in the territories. One of Tyler's most controversial decisions came in 1842 when he vetoed a bill to recharter the Second Bank of the United States. The veto was widely seen as a victory for the anti-bank Democrats and Republicans, and it helped to solidify Tyler's reputation as a champion of limited government. However, it was not without its critics. Some argued that Tyler had overstepped his authority and that the bank should have been allowed to continue operating. Despite the controversy, Tyler stood firm and the bank was not rechartered. Instead, the government began to sell off the bank's assets and distribute the proceeds to the shareholders. The proceeds from the sale were then used to fund a new independent treasury system. The new system was designed to keep government funds separate from private banks and to give the government more control over its finances. Tyler was a strong supporter of the new system. He saw it as a way to reduce the size and scope of the federal government. He believed that the government should not be in the business of banking and that it was better to leave that to the private sector. The creation of the independent treasury system was a significant departure from the policies of previous administrations. For example, under the Second Bank of the United States, the government had kept its funds in private banks and had relied on them to manage its finances. The new system represented a move towards a smaller and less intrusive federal government. Tyler was also a strong advocate of states' rights, and he believed that the federal government should not interfere in the affairs of the individual states. He saw the bank as an example of federal overreach, and he was determined to stop it. Tyler's veto of the bank's charter and his support for the independent treasury system were part of a broader effort to limit the power of the federal government. Tyler believed that the government should play a small role in the lives of its citizens, and he worked hard to reduce taxes, regulations, and spending. His efforts to shrink the size of government continue to be debated today. Some argue that Tyler was right that the government should be small and limited in scope. Others argue that the government should be more active in regulating the economy and providing social services. Number 2. Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding was the 29th President of the United States. He served from 1921 to 1923 and is remembered for his return to normalcy domestic policy agenda. During his presidency, Harding appointed a number of corrupt officials to key positions in his administration. For example, he appointed Charles R. Forbes as the Director General of the Veterans Bureau, even though Forbes had been involved in a number of shady business deals in the past. Forbes ended up embezzling millions of dollars from the Bureau and was eventually convicted of the crime. Another example is Harry Daugherty, who Harding appointed as his Attorney General. Daugherty was a close friend of Harding's and had been involved in a number of questionable political schemes. As Attorney General, he used his power to protect the interests of organized crime and other political allies. Harding's cabinet members were also not immune from scandal. For example, Secretary of the Treasury Andrew Mellon was accused of tax evasion and insider trading, but he was never charged with any wrongdoing. These examples of corruption and cronyism were part of a larger problem in Harding's administration. His cabinet members and other advisors were often more interested in their own personal gain than in serving the public interest. This led to a number of scandals, including the Teapot Dome scandal, in which Secretary of the Interior Albert B. Folt was convicted of accepting bribes in exchange for allowing oil companies to drill on public lands. Harding himself was not involved in any of these scandals, but he was seen as the leader of the entire administration, and he was ultimately responsible for the actions of his cabinet members and other advisors. The widespread corruption in Harding's administration was a major scandal during his presidency, and it contributed to his low approval ratings. It was one of the factors that led to the end of his presidency and his death in office. Number 1. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was the 37th President of the United States. He served from 1969 to 1974 and is remembered for his involvement in the Watergate scandal. During his presidency, Nixon was involved in a number of illegal activities, including wiretapping, bugging, and even attempted assassination. For example, Nixon ordered the break-in at the Watergate Hotel, which ultimately led to his resignation. He also authorized the bombing of Cambodia, which was a violation of international law. Additionally, Nixon was involved in a number of cover-ups and lies about these activities, which further damaged his reputation and led to his downfall. Even though Nixon resigned before he could be impeached, he still broke many laws and committed many crimes while he was president. These included obstruction of justice, abuse of power, perjury, conspiracy, and contempt of Congress. The Watergate scandal was a major turning point in American history, and it had a profound impact on the country and the world. It led to a loss of faith in government and a growing sense of cynicism about politics. It also led to a number of reforms, including the creation of the Freedom of Information Act and the Ethics in Government Act. The Watergate scandal continues to be studied and debated today, and its lessons continue to be relevant. That's all for this video, folks. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more such interesting videos.